Uwaga! Materiał, którego właśnie słuchasz, ma charakter wyłącznie rozrywkowy i informacyjny. Nie stanowi porady medycznej, ani nie zachęca do stosowania jakichkolwiek substancji. Wszystkie działania podejmujesz na własną odpowiedzialność, a autorzy podcastu nie ponoszą odpowiedzialności za skutki wykorzystania tych treści w praktyce. Jeśli temat jest dla Ciebie rażący, śmiało wyłącz, ale subskrypcję możesz zostawić. Hello everyone and welcome in another English one podcast. Today we have a guest that we're waiting for a long period of time. Many of you ask about him and finally today we've got him. Yeah, I'm so happy. So Dominick Cardone is with us. Hello, Dom.
Hey, but I'm happy to be on, and thank you for everybody it's cool to see, some interest in people who want to listen to me ramble on. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, as you know, I'm sitting on a professional muscle forum, and those guys are constantly asking about you. I have a lot of DMs about you, because you are actually uh new kind of like a combined new ways of training with the old school mentality, and this is something that nowadays it's not that often that you can find out coach like that. So this is something that's cool, especially that you are a young guy, and your knowledge that you accumulate over the not that long period of time compared to some coaches out there. It's incredible. So I think that is picking your mind is something that's gonna be a delicious meal for us.
Well, I look forward to it. And let me just put my computer on Do Not Disturb so we don't have any, because I have text going off here. I don't know if you heard that.
No, but I'm
Um,
gonna do the same.
yeah, I don't want anybody disturbing because then I'll lose my train of thought and I'll be all over the place. So yes, let's get into it. Like I said in the beginning of our conversation, I will do my best to answer the questions because bodybuilding is a never one size fits all endeavor. So let's do it. I look forward to it.
Great. So today we're gonna talk about the off season, and we're gonna put into a scenario like always in my podcast. So we're gonna talk about a guy who wanted to transition into from heavyweight into a super heavyweight category, so the open category. So I am freshly out of my contest prep. I have done my labs, and it's perfect. Nothing's to be worried about. I'm weighing about 102 kilograms, so it's 217 pounds, something like that, 220, something like that. No, 208, 200, something like that. But let me check it. I'm gonna calculate it for us to be sure, because some guys out there are from 224 pounds. I'm weight 224 pounds. So we wanted to move me into the open category. So let's talk about how do you set up everything. For example, this is my first mail to you, and what kind of information you want out of me at the beginning.
So the base info. So obviously, if somebody is usually, let's talk about you. You're at the top of the light heavyweight class. Maybe you're not placing the way you should have been placing. Your frame can hold a lot more muscle tissue and have to go up. So when it comes to, piece of gum. When it comes to going up in weight classes, I like to be absolutely sure that that person has to go up. And I believe in today's times, especially the last 8 years, maybe 10 years, people have become very obsessive with weight classes, right? And they haven't fully maxed out their weight class to begin with. So I'm going to look first at all your past pictures. Were you coming in 100% conditioned for your shows? Is there no more room in the heavyweight class for you? Then okay, we have to go up. Maybe you have a bigger frame, you have longer limbs, you're getting outsized in the heavyweight class, and we have to go up. So we're going to pull all the information of what you've been doing. I need to know what you've been doing nutrition wise for the past year, what you did for your entire prep. This since you just came out of a prep, blood work, which is a mandatory. You just said it was perfect. but blood work is going to be first and foremost. Do you have any prior medical conditions? Do you have any autoimmune issues? Do you have any gut issues? Do you have any issues whatsoever? High blood pressure, history of high cholesterol, history of any, do you have any prior heart issues? Is there any genetic components to issues that run in your family? Because now we're talking about going up in weight classes, and that's going to put a lot of stress in the body, right? It's not normal for us to bodybuild in any capacity. Let's be real. To have any sort of abnormal level of muscle in your body, it's not normal for a human. So that's going to be more stress in the body. It is going to be a longer process. So when we get all that, and of course the gear comes into play. How long have you been on for? We know you just came out of a prep. Did you come straight out of an off-season phase? Did you maybe run a TRT phase before? And also too, I like to see have guys had any time off of bodybuilding, and a lot of people don't really think of this because I'm going to use my client Chris Mazzaro, who's doing USA's, as an example this week. Him and I have been working this 2017. We won a few overalls. He did nationals 2018. He stopped bodybuilding 2019 as he went into the army. He's still in the army. He came to me 2 years ago in January 2023. Chris was always a big guy. He looked like this, a twig. A lot of running in the army. He's active duty. So I'm like, okay. He's like, I think I want to get back into this. I'm like, okay. Now, if I didn't know his prior history and what he's done before, and also to what injuries did he get in the army, I would have been like, all right, this is going to take a little bit. But I knew he had the ability to put the muscle back on his frame and add more on top of that. So we took 2 years. So taking that into account, did they have any time off of bodybuilding, or have they been consistent their entire bodybuilding journey, career, whatever we want to call it? It's going to be a longer process. And I like to make sure we take as long as possible to make it slow and smooth, because we could do it fast. We could take more drugs. We could take a lot more growth hormone. It can happen fast. But is that the right thing? It is not. You're going to lose the details in the muscle. You're going to lose a certain flow to the physique. Yes, these guys get big when they do rush it. And sure, it looks impressive on social media. But when these guys go on stage, now they're up a weight class. They lost details. They have a blurry look to their physique. It's not good quality. That jump in weight class isn't going to help them. They're going to
Okay.
look worse no matter that size they put on. So making sure that we're taking the adequate time to do this nice and slow and controlled, and making sure that we are keeping them healthy. We are keeping gut health in check. We're not overdoing the drugs, but are the drugs going to go up? Possibly, based on how long have they been doing this. So without going off into a tangent, I know you have a lot more questions. We're going to roundabout and see what have they done in the past, as long as we can, especially the past few years, considering that they are an upper level, top level national guy who has to go into the next class.
Okay, just we have to talk about something. Let's assume that everything is actually perfect. Maybe the methods that I was using before is not something that you wanted to stick with. You wanted to change it by yourself, by your like standards. But everything is pretty much okay. My diet was pretty much okay. My training back in the day was okay, but you wanted to maybe change it or maybe not. My like I say, my health is it's smooth. It's perfect. My drug use was never too high. It was never low as well. Like it should be in a in a heavyweights. But it's nothing, nothing that's worries you. Let's say it's like that. So let's start with the setup of the training during the off season. Do you like to focus more on the volume or the intensity, or split it into a cycle? For example, 6 weeks volume, 6 weeks intensity, or something like that. Do you incorporate something like set up deload plans or something like that, or do you do something like utilizing deloads more like by a feel? So if I need it, I do it. If I don't, I don't. What do you think about it?
Now, just for the viewers, if I say it depends, I don't mean to sound like a politician. It's just a disclaimer I put on things. So, of course, it depends on what have they been doing. I don't like to make set phases for guys with training. Like, for instance, we're going to do 3 to 4 weeks of this and maybe higher volume. And this is just throwing things out there just to put a scenario. 3 or 4 weeks of higher volume, and then we're going to deload and go into a lower volume plan. How can we know how that person is going to respond to this in 3 to 4 weeks? When I was at one of my biggest, I was training 4 days a week. I did that for it's so long. It's 8 months. It was a very long time. And I was training with Oscar Arden. We followed the same exact training program with maybe some movements here, there changing that entire time. Throughout the time, the one thing that I learned, which was the most important, is to listen to my body when it talks to me, right? You could hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, Listen to my body. So we didn't have four, like, let's say in 4 weeks, we're going to take a deload. Maybe I didn't wake up today feeling 100%. Maybe I didn't sleep the greatest last night. Maybe last week's training is really catching up to me. I'm not going to have the most productive session today. So I'm going to take off today. My body doesn't know what day of the week is training a body part, usually, right? So I'm going to take off today. I'm going to regroup. Maybe I'm going to eat. Come back tomorrow. I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to be better. Because if we're just constantly pounding over and over, we're going to dig ourselves into a hole. And when we dig ourselves into a hole, we got to build ourselves back. So watching how the body move or which way it doesn't move is very important from a coaching aspect and from an athlete aspect. Most athletes want to push. The really good athletes, they want to keep pushing. No matter how they feel, they keep pushing. They ignore how they feel. Not good. But it's just how a part of it. It's for the crazy bodybuilder mindset. So it's important to have that coaching relationship and communication with the athlete. So I don't like having set numbers on things. That's why check-ins every week are critical in the off season. The off season is more important to me than pre-contest because a lot can change in a week or not. And I know some
Yeah.
people will argue with me and saying this. Yes, it takes time to adapt, and yes, it does. But we can watch week to week how the body changes. How was their sleep this week? How was their digestion this week? How was their appetite this week? How did they feel during training? Is their performance in the gym going up? Are they getting stronger with pounds or reps? So when it comes to training, it's truly based on what is in front of us. So let's say you came to me, you're coming out of it, you're fresh. Let's say maybe you haven't done, let's say you're a moderate to lower volume guy. Let's get the volume going. This is something you haven't been doing. Let's get the volume going a bit more. And listen, we look at all the old school guys. They trained for the most part
Yeah.
on a higher volume scale. Um, and look how they looked. Very round, dense muscle with details because some guys will call this bro science, but we see the guys that just train lower volume, high intensity. They're big, but they lack that detail to the muscle. They lack, it's a specific roundness that comes with that thickness. So let's get you going into a higher volume program. Let's see how you respond with that. And usually they respond incredibly. You hear from them, oh, I haven't had pumps like this in so long. I haven't felt this good. And then you see their physique starting to volumize. And yes, it's blood flow. But one thing I was taught, if a muscle can be pumped to a certain size, it could grow into a certain size through time. So we're seeing this body change with the volume, and we're going to run it out for as long as we can. But when we start to see the body start to show signs of pullback, maybe you're not getting as strong. Maybe you're starting to get little injuries. Let's pull back. Let's maybe for a week pull back, pull out all your failure sets, pull down the volume a little bit. Or there will be some guys who, out of nowhere, they hit a wall, overtrained, their sleep is crap, their appetite's going down a little bit, performance came to a halt. Now, let's take a week off. Let's take 4 days off. And some guys hear this like, oh my God, I can't do that. I'm going to get small. But nonsense. Because I know sometimes when you do this, you come back stronger, you come back fresher, and it's like a reset. Because we have to remember too, training is stress in the body. Stress in the body, our immune systems have to handle. And we're trying to become a super heavyweight. And we need to make sure we're looking at this as a whole. Your body doesn't want to become a super heavyweight. Your body's going to prioritize survival. So if you're being overtrained, now let's pull it back, adjust. Maybe you got to feed up. Maybe you just need to rest completely. So it's a case by case basis. But for our case study here, we're going to go into higher volume. We're going to ride it out for as long as we can until we start to see those performance metrics start to come down.
Sweet, sweet, great. Okay, so let's talk about the off-season diet then. Do you like to keep your guys lean throughout the whole off-season, or do you believe in something like typical full blown out mass mode? And especially in the cases like me, I need to add probably 15 to 20 pounds of pure muscle. So how do you assess that in that case?
So there's two sides to this. There are some guys at some points in their career where that little bit of body fat is going to help them in the gym, which is indirectly going to help them grow to a reason, within reason. Their joints are going to be feel a little bit more protected. They're going to be stronger mentally. It's an edge, but we know when guys get too fat in the off season, insulin resistance becomes an issue, inflammation becomes an issue. Then we have to rework that. So let's say it's you, right? We need whatever, 15, 20 pounds. I'm going to do my best to keep you on the leaner side because we want to progress for as long as we can and keep that needle of progression moving forward without having to, all right, let's, go on a mini diet and cut back on the food and pull back on body fat and have to restore insulin sensitivity. But instead, by keeping you somewhat lean, your blood markers are going to be most likely better. Your blood pressure is going to be better. You're going to feel better. You're going to absorb your nutrients a lot better because you see a lot of these guys going to their pre-contest and they start growing like crazy and they feel so good. I was one of those guys. I wasn't the leanest in my off seasons. I wish I was, but I grew like crazy in prep because insulin sensitivity was so high. My digestion was so on point. So let's keep you a little bit leaner. Let's use the insulin sensitivity to our advantage. So yes, let's keep it lean. I'm sorry if I get a little too excited and go off point a little bit. So if you ever have to pull me back in, just let me know.
No, no, I love it. I love it. I love your energy. And to be honest, I'm often wanted to interrupt you, but I am not gonna do that because this is about your approach, and my thoughts are not important at all here. So, first of all, before I ask the main question, we have to assess how do you count your macros because some coaches counted it from all the sources, for example, protein, fats, and carbs from oats, pasta, etc. And some guys are counting only like direct sources. So, for example, protein only from meats. Carbs only from oats, like they neglect the certain amount of fats and protein from that source. So how do you count it?
I'm doing it just from the direct sources. I have never found a need to, look up for net carbs or the proteins that may be in a carbohydrate source or a fat source. I want my proteins for my proteins. I want my carbs for my carbs, my fats for my fats. Let's simplify it. So I've
Great,
never had a need to do that.
great. Okay, so the simple approach. So how much protein then for the kilo or pounds of the lean mass you would like to have me on?
What my calculator.
Or how
See,
many
220.
grams? That could be that probably gonna be enough.
Yeah. So if you're 224 pounds, let's say we're going to go roughly around one point, and this is starting, right? Um, let's say 336, let's say 350, 350 grams of protein. Let's round it up a little bit. And the reason is I don't want to right off the bat put you at this high amount of food. Why? Why? It
Yeah.
may work for a little bit. I would much rather start here and slowly work it in through time. And protein isn't something I like to overdo in guys either. I think a guys can get away with lower amounts of protein compared to what the old school guys have showed us in the past. Um, and the reason is because we have to digest all that. We need carbs to grow muscle to fuel our workouts. That's the main energy driver in our training. We need fats for other bodily processes. So when it comes to proteins, I don't like to overdo it because we have to digest that. It's going to sit in our stomach, and I want to make room, simply said, for the carbohydrates and fats, and that's what we're going to play a little more with.
Okay. Some coaches would say this is a very high protein approach, but I mean you're referring to the guys like Milos who said that's not
Yes.
even
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah, that's so. Yes, that's exactly who I'm. I'm still sometimes when I think I'm still stuck in the ways that I learned 15 years ago from guys like that.
Yeah,
I remember when I was
Dante.
competing. Yes, yes, yeah. So when I talk, it's sometimes referencing back that.
Yeah,
But today, some people would say, "Oh, that's a good amount of protein." But for me, I mean, that's not crazy compared to what guys would think going into the super heavyweight class.
of course, I get you. So, how much carbs and fats do you like to keep your guys on? Because some coaches believes that carbs are the far most important thing when it comes to the bodybuilding. Some coaches still thinks that fats is something that's absolutely necessary for, I don't know for what, but some guys still like their fats. So, how do you assess that?
So this is a great question. Years ago, I used to be a very low fat guy from direct sources. It wasn't really the smartest because over time you're gonna the what I learned is the more you build up, if this person's staying lean and you're pumping the carbs and pumping the carbs up, it's like it goes into a black hole. Their metabolism just becomes faster. They're not really, growth is not going to be as fast as it normally would. So now let's add in fats, which are more calorically dense within reason, which are going to slow things down, slow digestive rate down, and it's going to play a big role. And when I think about fats, I think back to Jay Cutler once posted his, I think AJ Simpson, in fact, he posted Jay's diet from way back.
Yeah,
It was like 10 meals or something crazy. And Jay was adding like a tablespoon of peanut butter to every meal. And he got his biggest. He wasn't the leanest. So I don't get that extreme because fat choices are pretty important to food selection.
yeah,
So they both are going to be very important. So we're going to have a baseline of fat somewhere. Again, depending on the person, I mean, we are, excuse me, we're all going to count. I know I said direct sources. We are going to count the fats coming from steaks or salmon because
yeah,
those are
of
very high
course.
fat meats. So let's say fats, let's put in starting 70 grams, roughly 60, 70 grams. Given this person's very lean, they're coming out of the show, their metabolism is crazy. Carbohydrates, it's tough to say offhand.
Rest.
Let's say 450 to 500 to start. Yeah.
Good amount, good amount. Yeah, of course. Oh, great. So, do you like to keep your guys on some sort of the rotation, like high, mid, low, or training, non-training, or do you like to keep them on a pretty much the same diet, but maybe introduce something like intra-workout shake and pull it out on the rest days or something like that?
So for the most part, I do like a training day and off day diet. Some people will argue this, and I do agree to this to a certain extent, is the growing is done in the off days. So why would you pull back the food on the off days? We don't need as much food on those off days because we're not training. These big guys, and we're talking about somebody going, this is a big guy going to the super heavyweight class. He needs food on his training days. He needs that food. He's breaking down muscle. He's probably been training a long time. So his muscle recruitment is going to be a lot higher than somebody who's not as high as his experience level. Um, so having that training day and off day is going to help regulate insulin sensitivity a bit more. Of course, give the body a chance to catch up in terms of digestion. Because if we're just slamming food every day, you can only do that for so long. And I used to do that a long time ago. I did it in my when I was bodybuilding. It didn't feel good. I think I would have been better on a maybe 2 or 3 rotation in my off season. So again, we're trying to keep you lean. You're going to the super heavyweight class, so let's use those off days. Still a decent amount of food that's going to be able to accelerate our recovery, but also too to keep our insulin sensitivity high and make sure we're not accruing too much fat through this time.
Do you like to pull a little bit more carbs from those days and maybe bump it up the fats, or just slow, bring down the carbs and that's it?
So we're just starting off here, right? We're just going to bring down the carbs for now.
Okay.
Let's see how you do with that for a while. Because again, then we're bringing the calories back up in terms of fats, which makes sense in certain situations. But right now, let's not change too much. We're changing enough as is. So let's start by just removing some of the carbohydrates. We're not training. That's going to be the main energy source for our training, and we're not training. So let's pull that back some.
Okay, okay, makes sense totally. So, if we are on a topic of the diets, I have to ask the question because this is something that you probably have an opinion on. So, what's, in your opinion, obviously, the biggest diet mistakes that most of the guys are doing during the off season?
The biggest mistakes. One, this is in no particular order, and I have a lot of things that come to me. The first one that comes to mind is food selection, right? Chicken and rice, chicken and rice, chicken and rice, chicken and rice. Cool, old school way. Where's the diversity in that? We're talking about protein, carbs, and fats. Maybe you have some fats in there. Where's your veggies? Where's your fruits? We as human beings are made, well, excuse me. Then we're going to argue with the carnivore diet. But let's talk in a whole nother aspect. We as humans need micronutrients to function on a day to day basis. Now we're high level bodybuilders. We require a lot of nutrients. It's going to be more than protein, carbs, and fats. So those micronutrients coming from veggies, as long as they tolerate the veggies, and at the least fruits. I love fruits. They have great antioxidants in them that our body does really well with them. They taste great. They're, a lot of them are hydrating, but the micronutrients we're getting from them are very important. So again, there's that food selection. We're getting more variety in the diet. We're not just worried about protein, carbs, and fats. We're getting all our other nutrients in because we need the nutrients to grow. Also, too, comes into the um, realm of gut health, diversity in the foods. You have somebody eat the same exact thing, chicken, rice, and steak, for years on end, they're probably going to have some stomach issues later on.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
yeah, so I'm sure you've seen people like all of a sudden they try to eat another food, they can't eat it. So what I learned from, I worked with a very world-renowned gut specialist years ago when I had my mercury issues, and he's the one that actually raised the topic of having diversity in our foods for gut health. And he was right because you have these bodybuilders, I can't eat potatoes. Yeah, they can't eat it. So a lot of guys, or it could be a veggie. Well, you haven't eaten them in years, so I don't think your body's going to like it. So having this diversity of food is important for the microbiome as well. And of course, we don't want to force things either. We want to make sure that we're using food sources that digest well for you, that aren't going against your body, because then we're causing more inflammation on the body if we're just forcing stuff down that just doesn't agree with your body. So maybe you want to run a food allergy test too. That's another deep dive that we could get into. Another issue that I found is guys aren't eating enough. They're not eating enough. Listen, it takes a lot of food day in, day out for years on end. The greatest bodybuilders in the world would talk about how they never missed meals. So let's look at it like this. You're in your this month, let's say you skipped 3 to 4 meals a week. How many meals is that a month?
A lot.
That's it's a lot of meal. That's a lot of calories.
Yeah.
So on your weekly average, your calories are way down, and you want to compete in a year, 2 years as a super heavy. That's a lot of wasted time and a lot of calories. You're not maxing out on the amount of food you could be taking in to grow. And food is the most anabolic thing we could put on our bodies. Listen, everybody loves gear. I loved it when I competed. It's a fascinating subject. It works. It's needed. But it's we need the food to grow. And one of the things I learned, again, I'll quote him all the time, with Oscar, Factory, Mubarak, Chad Nichols, they were very big into eating. Some of the
Yeah.
best bodybuilders in the world and the best eaters. So a lot of guys just don't eat enough. Like I said, the off season is more important than pre-contest. We need to be eating, we need to be training hard. Um, and off the top of my head, that's all I'm going to throw at you.
This is crazy that all of the guys from the US talking about not eating enough when in Europe, especially in Poland, this is totally opposite. Most of the guys are eating just too much. They are overeat as fuck. Uh, Either they eating above their diet or just eating the like cheat meals or skipping their own meals to eat something different. But most of the time, the problem with people we are working with in Poland is that they are very quickly get fat because they just not sticking to their diet fully, but not that they don't eat their meals, but they adding additional meals on the top of their diets. So this is crazy for me that so many guys in the US are just can't eat. I don't know if it's maybe it's a culture thing that because we have like the war thing in the past, so we are not have the foods for a long time. Then we have the times that was the people were just poor. So maybe this is something that's, I don't know, get the roots in our culture, but this is that's always shocks me when coaches from the US talks about not eating enough.
You know, it's funny you say that because Americans are by nature fat. Like,
Yeah,
look at like you think of when a lot of other countries think of Americans, they think of fast food and McDonald's, and just you go to a lot of places in the US and just people all over the place. So it'd be funny. You would think it would translate into bodybuilding, but it doesn't. So, you know, again, following a meticulous diet in the off season that's structured week in and week out, it's also not easy. It's
yeah.
not. Not everybody can do it because it takes a lot of work. It does to cook the food, carry the food, eat the food. It's a whole nother job in its own. So I also think in here in the United States, it also comes down to a work ethic thing as well.
Oh man.
Yeah, I can definitely see that because I mean, it's really not hard to eat, especially if you have an appetite. And then a lot of people don't have an appetite. If somebody says they don't have an appetite, say this: would you be able to eat a burger and fries right now? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So it's a taste thing.
yeah.
So a lot of times it also is a work ethic thing as well. Because again, it's not easy to do this.
Yeah, definitely. But I have a couple guys from US, and they are all just focusing on bodybuilding straight. So this is maybe not that often, or maybe if they choose coach from outside of their country, they just more hardcore, and just if someone find me, they probably are very deep into a bodybuilding because I am not a well-known coach by any means.
Yeah, no, I don't want to say that all, you know, I don't like to
I
put,
get you. I get you.
you
Yeah.
know, but yeah, it's definitely a thing here for sure. Like if you go, and not to go too off topic, like our local shows here are not good.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
no,
I see the huge disparity between the US and Europe shows that, yeah, this is definitely visible.
yes.
Okay, so let's talk about the cheat meals as we are talking about being fat and American. And because some guys are like to structure the cheat meals into a plan of their clients. Some coaches are not allowed for the cheat meals at all. And how about you?
So you just started with me. We're building up this plan. We're not doing cheat meals yet. We don't need that. We need to establish what I like to call a new baseline with your current nutrition. The foods that I'm giving you. Let's see how that does after a few weeks. Why? And plus, too, if we're growing on the foods that we're growing on, we want to keep our digestive health sound. We don't want inflammation. We don't need this crap food. Let's eat a little more cleaner food because, again, you're trying to get up to the super heavyweights now. At a certain point, we may need those extra calories, sustainable calories to put in there to kind of, maybe we're going to use it strategically. Maybe your back is a weak point. Right? Maybe we're going to do it the day before your back day, so you have that extra fuel going because you're staying lean right now. You're staying really lean. Or maybe we're going to feed up on a training day. So I hate saying it depends, but it does.
Mm.
So, but for the first few weeks, let's no cheat meals. We will add them in strategically. Now, what I will say on this point, to go off the topic a little bit of the super serious bodybuilder trying to make the super heavyweights, I do feel from a social aspect, I do like to give my guys a break to go out to dinner with their wife or their family or just, go out with friends because most people are not going to do the day in, day out, month in, month out monotony of being a bodybuilder. So they do need a little bit of a social break. Maybe they enjoy food. There's nothing wrong with that. I love food.
Yeah,
So having that mental break to kind of pull back, be present with their family, enjoy a meal together, back to work tomorrow, and it's probably going to help them anyway. But at that point, we're keeping it at one time per week, just once.
right.
It's very rare that I have guys do more than one cheat meal per week.
Yeah, I'm glad that you add that because I wanted to ask you to specify because you says that maybe my bag is shit and maybe we use it on those days or right before those days. But I wanted to ask you, do you really believe that this is a tool that's worth utilize? Because I'm believing that it's better to feed me with a good quality food than let me do a cheat meal. But you perfectly describe your school of thought. I think for the mental aspect, some guys are definitely needed, and it's maybe even help in the release the cortisol and maybe
Yeah.
because if you have a happy life, happy wife, you're probably going to build a little bit more muscle than if you're stressed out all the time because your wife are screaming at you because you're not taking it out of date for a couple of years because you wanted to win a plastic trophy. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, I agree. Because listen, and I know we're talking about a case study of a hardcore bodybuilder,
Yeah.
but I do like to make these points to people, to the public, because there is more to life than bodybuilding. Your relationships with your family, your significant other, whoever, is very important now. Doesn't mean you need to eat. No, if we're in a certain phase, you can still spend time with your loved ones without shoving your face. But I do, yeah, those meals are great. Like you said, cortisol comes down, they could be present. Next day, they're like, okay, I'm ready to get back to my plan. I used to do very well with them. So having that, like, and like you just meant that you made a great point with the cortisol and the stress side of things. Maybe they have a lot going on in their life, you know? So to have that moment to kind of just turn off, but then once they switch it back on, they were even better than before.
Yeah, and you talk about the hardcore bodybuilders. I think that people just misunderstood the thinking about being hardcore because let's be honest, if you're training balls to the walls and you're eating well for majority of time, if you when you're gonna eat something like a burger and fries once a week, you're probably not gonna hurt your physique at all. So
Yes.
yeah, probably better to not eat it because even if the fine dining restaurants, the burger is not gonna be the best quality or better than good steak making at home, probably. But who cares? Life is one time thing, so you have to think about it as well. I like it. Okay, so let's talk mini cuts. Let's says that we are doing everything great for a while, but I am starting to putting a little bit more fat. Maybe. Do you like to do something like a mini cut periods with those kinds of guys, or maybe do you like to just I don't know pull a little bit my diet and just stick with it like that and just increase the rate of my muscle and my weight, but maybe a little bit slower.
Great question, because you can do one or the other depending on how sloppy did the person get. Do we need to go into a long phase and bring down the food and raise the cardio and really pull back on things sometimes? Or it's a matter of, okay, we've hit a high amount of food. You could only keep pushing the food for so long. And let's talk about from this scenario. I've been slamming the food for this long. Pumps are pretty good. The look isn't bad, but they're not shredding that line. What I've noticed, let's pull back on it a little bit. Next thing you know, that next check in, my pumps were crazy this week. I felt so good. A lot of people would think, wait, you feel better on lower food? That doesn't make sense. Your body still has to digest all this. Again, insulin sensitivity goes up, inflammation comes down. It's not normal to eat all these calories and all these foods. So bringing it back down can have a very positive effect with whatever is going. So now we just extended a few more weeks on possibly. Let's run this out. Let's see how it does. Maybe we'll do another decrease. And they're getting even better. And now it also leaves us that ceiling to move up as needed. Now, there are some cases where I do like to do this. It's not too often where we will have a dedicated phase to making sure we pull off a good amount of body fat. Let's see what's underneath this body fat in this water. Let's kind of regulate digestion again. Let's restore insulin sensitivity as much as we can. And then we'll possibly be able to hit a rebound after that. It won't be as strong as a post show rebound, but we're going to get some good movement after that. So that's the two sides to that on how we would approach that. But with our case study, let's say that we're just going to bring down the food a little bit. Maybe we'll increase the cardio just a little bit, which can't hurt anyway. It's not like they're going to grow less muscle.
Okay, I have to deep dive a little bit deeper into that because you said let's do something like a hardcore mini cat and maybe we're gonna do a rebound after that. So what do you mean when you says mini cat? Because for me, mini cats can last 7 to 10 days. For example, if I gonna do this with my clients and because he just can't eat or just needs the break for a while, so that makes sense then. But when it comes to the making the shape better to the point that you wanted to rebound after that, how long the period should be?
Let's say anywhere from 4 weeks to maybe 8 weeks, depending on how sloppy did they get. Again, we're looking for an aggressive movement out of this with some sort of a rebound. We really want to see what's underneath there. So a true mini cut phase, I would even say at the least 3 weeks, but we could extend it up to 8 weeks if needed. I've done that with some guys. It went so well that we just kept going. But yeah, so I would say anywhere 3 to 4 weeks minimum to 8 weeks tops. Because then after that, we're almost 3 months in here, and we shouldn't have gotten that out of shape to need more than
Yeah.
8 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's lost in the semantics sometimes in bodybuilding because mini cats suggesting that it's gonna be something really short, and 8 weeks for some, it's a contest prep.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about the cardio in the off season. Do you like to have your guys on regimented cardio throughout the year because of I don't know why? Maybe you explain this, or do you like to just track, for example, steps, or maybe nothing at all because it is off season and we are not gonna lose those precious calories?
Old school way of thinking is no cardio. Don't leave your
Yeah,
house. Eat, go to the gym, sleep.
Arnold style.
Nonsense. The Arnold style. Let's Nasser El Somebody style. Like let's the guys in that's nonsense. I used to do that a long time ago with my people. And then I realized the heart is a muscle. The heart's pretty important, right?
Yeah,
I think we need a heart, not only just for bodybuilding purposes. When bodybuilding's done one day, you don't want your bodybuilding career to be cut short because of a heart issue. But after it's all said and done, after we put all this stress in the body, we want to have a good heart. So, how do we do that? Part of it is cardio. But now this is going to help directly with what we're looking to do with your physique. Your performance in the gym is going to be better because you're not gasping for air in between sets. Maybe you're able to push the sets even more because your cardiovascular performance is higher. So now we're able to train longer, train harder, and your recovery is going to be better because your resting heart rate is going to be lower. The effect on the immune system is going to be a lot less than it would if we're just so out of shape from a cardiovascular standpoint. So it's important to do that. And of course, preventing, too much fat from building up, making sure that we're keeping blood sugars controlled, circulation. It's good to get the blood moving. So most of my guys in the off season, I had them on 6 days of cardio per week with a targeted heart range. It depends on the person's targeted heart range, but we do want to work the heart. Steps are not cardio. Taking a walk outside is not cardio to me. Cardio is let's break a little bit of a good sweat. Let's get that heart moving within reason. That's cardio. Steps are great. I don't stress them too much with too many people, to be honest, because it's a I don't want to add so much into most people's play. Now, my hardcore guys, they will do it to the T. So steps, I do like to have a guideline on because we do want to make sure that we are raising up our daily meat in some way, right? Instead of just sitting around, just being sedentary, that isn't good either, so mentally or physically. So it's not direct cardio, but I do like for the most part having the steps. But having that direct cardio work is a non-negotiable. You're an athlete, you know.
definitely. Great that you say it in those that certain and like this is something that's really important, and I like when coaches are putting a really bold line under those statements, just because some guys are still thinking that it's not that important because it's just burning calories and stuff like that. But let's let's be honest, how much you can burn during the 15 to 20 minutes of even intense cardio? It's just maybe I have allowed you to eat one bite of Snickers if it's gonna help your mental.
You
Yeah,
you're right though. You're absolutely right on that. It's not. I have found that it's not. And you know what? Even if it does to the slightest degree, who cares? So it's going to take you a little bit longer to get there, but your heart's healthier. You look better. You're functioning better. So no, I absolutely keep. I know I don't make a lot of absolutes. That's an absolute for me with most people. Now, some people I have to pull it back for a short period of time, maybe from 6 to 3 or 4 or 5, whatever it is.
yeah.
Just because that food's maybe so high and they have a crazy metabolism. But for the most part, your heart's a muscle. Let's work it.
I like to use the quotes. The best bodybuilder is the living one. So the so if you're dead, you're basically cannot improve, definitely. Uh,
Yes.
so if you are okay with that, I would like to talk about the PEDs a little bit. We don't have to talk
Okay.
about the dosages because this is something that's totally person dependent, and some coaches are not just willing to say about the dosage, but maybe talk about the PED's choice of your choice when it comes to the off season, because there are guys still who like to use maybe even something like nandrolone only cycles, but I think those guys are just slowly disappearing in the crowd, but still use something like trend in the off season, still use something like exotic drugs like DHB and stuff like that. But I I probably know the answers, but I still gonna ask you about your drug of choice when it comes to the guys like me.
So everything is a tool, right? What are we trying to achieve? What look are we trying to achieve? Everything is a tool. I don't believe all, I know some people say all drugs are equal in some way. I don't know how they can say that. It's not true. There is a tool for every job, and every tool may not be great. It's not the greatest for every person. This person may respond so freaking well to EQ. This person may not. That's okay. I have found guys that love EQ. And I'm just making this as a generalized statement here to bring a point home. They love it. They feel good on it. Strong, good look. Yeah, this guy, blood pressure's through the roof, hematocrit's through the roof. He's anxious. He can't sleep. He's depressed. So we do want to take notes on what we're using. So if we're going to talk about a base cycle, testosterone is king, in my opinion. Testosterone is king. It's what the male body is comprised of mainly when it comes to hormones. It builds muscle, it gives you that drive. When we think of men and strong, you think of test, right? I love testosterone. It works. It's pretty safe for the most part, as long as you're controlling your blood pressure and controlling your lipids. But I'm not a low test guy. Like I know some people, oh, I just like to be on 150 megs, 200 megs of test and higher. And about, I don't like this. I don't, yeah, sure, maybe, sure. But there is a specific look. And again, goes back to that old school way of thinking, but it works. Those guys back then were running a lot of testosterone. Were way overdoing it, but there is a happy medium to some things, right? It works. And most people, most men for the most part, feel good on testosterone and they can run it for longer periods of time. So now, if we're going to add in compounds that you don't feel good on, the cycle is going to be shortened. Your life is probably going to turn to crap. Your physique is going to turn to crap. So, what's wrong with testosterone? So, testosterone, I do love. Um, I do like nandrolones. A lot of people today, I think, have gotten in their head over the effect of nandrolones on their mental space. Back then, everybody felt great on DECA. Everybody ran DECA. Everybody felt great. Now, somebody hears the word nandrolone, I'm depressed. A lot of people don't realize too, when you put something in your head, it's going to happen. I read online, type in, what are the side effects of NPP? Let me go on Reddit.
Yeah.
And this person said, I'm depressed. Wait, I'm taking DECA. I can't take it. Now, is it a real thing? Absolutely. It could happen. I mean, just from a biological standpoint, hormonal standpoint, it could happen. So that's a point. with the drugs that I like to put out there is I think today there's so much information out there that people create the side effects for themselves within reason. But does that disqualify the fact that it's not a real thing? It's a real thing. So I do like nandrolones for the off season, mainly NPP because it does keep a drier physique. Yes, there is a lower risk of guys having some sort of anxiety, or if you want to call it depression, low mood. It does produce a nice look, so we're not so water bloated. But sometimes that extra water retention goes a long way with guys. I loved DECA. I was a water buffalo, but I loved how strong I was. My joints felt great. Mentally, I felt good. I have some athletes that I run it with. They love it, and then some don't. So I do like the Nandros. Test is always going to be a base. We're not saying we're combining these. I'm just trying to talk about the certain drugs. But let's say for your case study, um, we're going to start off. We're going to start off with 750 milligrams of testosterone, just for the sake of the conversation. 750 milligrams of testosterone. Let's do 75 to 100 milligrams of NPP every other day. We This guy may be a high aromatizer. Let's keep some aromatin on hand just in case we need it, because we don't want estrogen to get too high either.
Yeah.
I don't believe in just allowing it to go sky high, because guess who did an experiment with that? Me. And I produce a lot of estrogen, put on a lot of body fat, and yes, it's body fat. Mentally, I didn't feel right. That's a real thing. So we need estrogen to grow? 1,000%. You need estrogen for your liver to make IGF. So it has to be within reason. So we don't want you to become so overloaded with estrogen. So there may need to be some control there. And I know some guys like to use Primo or Masteron or EQ or DHB. Does it have a possible use there? Absolutely. But I like to keep things as simple as possible. It hasn't failed me yet. It hasn't hurt any health markers.
Yeah.
We're good there. And I'm going to say growth hormone. Growth hormone is an amazing tool. If I was to pick two drugs to put a guy in the off season to grow, it's going to be testosterone. It's going to be growth hormone. Why? We can get longer periods of time out of them as long as we're controlling the side effects that can come from both, and they work. They do. Now, with the growth hormone, it can hurt the look as well. Absolutely can hurt the look as well, because it will blow somebody up. It'll make them look crazy full over time. They will put on muscle tissue, and people do grow from growth hormone. I was an experiment with that as well in my last few years bodybuilding. Um, for the most part, when you're controlling side effects, they're going to feel good. We want people to try to feel as good as possible with the drugs that we're using, because if you're taking a drug and you feel getting a whole bunch of side effects, what's the use? I don't believe in that. Let me just take it and bear with this. This is stupid. It's working against you. It's going to hurt you in some way. So testosterone and GH, it's old school, but it's always going to be king.
So let's let's just put it to your perspective. So you like to use only test and GH, or you add that 350 mix of NPP weekly?
My
Because
apologies. That's good for you to bring it
yeah,
back in. Yeah, I was making 2 points. So let's say for our case study, we're doing the 750 milligrams testosterone to start. We may up it at some point. We probably will. This is a high level guy. He's been competing for a while. We have our NPP in there. We have 4 to 5 IUs of growth hormone in there as well. And we have our ancestors on the side just to have on the back burner.
great, great. I have a question about the GH, because do you believe that more is more, or you like to keep it pretty low? Because for me, 4 to 5 I use GH is a barely dose that's it's worth use for me.
Statystyki podpowiadają mi, że duża część osób oglądających ten kanał wciąż go nie subskrybuje. Dlatego jeżeli należysz do tego grona, zasubskrybuj już teraz oraz wpadaj na naszego Discorda. Link znajdziesz w opisie tego filmu. Zapraszam Cię również do wspierania ruchu Zapierdalać Trzeba poprzez zakupywanie merchu oraz szerowanie, udostępnianie i lajkowanie. Wielkie dzięki i wracamy do materiału.
Again, it depends on the person, because we want to try to bring this out for as long as possible. Put somebody in the highest dose of testosterone and growth hormone right off the bat. We're not going to get as far as we could. Off the bat, it's going to feel great, but there's going to be a wall.
Let's talk about me. I am never get off GH almost, maybe right before the contest prep, but I am constantly at least 10 IUs. So 10 IUs is my minimum dose. like a 10. Right now I'm on 20 IUs, and you can look at my Instagram how I look. So
Okay.
this, yeah. So let's says that I am coming to you and I'm on 10 IUs. Do you bring it down or do you keep it like that because it's clearly working, for example?
So I'm going to bring it down at first. I'm
Okay.
going to bring, because you came to me maxed out. You're going looking to go into that next weight class. I'm going to bring it, let's bring it down to 6 or 7, right? Now we're redoing your nutrition. We're redoing your training. Let's pull that back down a little bit. So now when things are really going, let's bring it back up, right? Let's leave a little bit of the tools in our tool bag to be able to pull out for when we need it. Because if you come to me at 10 and I leave you at 10 or I bring it up, where's our ceiling to go up from that? Now, could you go up? And you can do whatever you want. Do I want to do that? No. I don't like the look. I don't. So I would like to leave that little bit of, I call it ceiling space. I use weird sayings like this. Ceiling space. So as we're progressing, like, okay, let's add in a little more GH. We have the room there to do it. We're not maxed out. Or let's add in a little more test. Now over the next few, oh man, you're getting stronger. You feel good. We could run this out for a while instead of we have all these at this high level. In 4 weeks, where do we go?
Yeah, of
And
course.
you're gonna keep bringing up the doses, and what's going to happen? Side effects are going to happen at some point. It's there's a negative drawback to raising the doses at some point for everybody.
Can I ask you, what do you mean by GH can hurt your look? Because some coaches obviously think about thickening the skin or just blurring because of the water rotation or maybe overgrowth of the intestinal tract and organs and stuff like that. What do you mean by hurting the look?
So GH can give somebody the ability to progress really fast. Now, we people would think if I take more GH, I'm going to stay leaner. Yes, you'll stay leaner. But does the skin thicken over time? So freaking lutely. Yes, it does. Usually it does. I mean, I don't want to put an absolute. Usually it does. And there's a certain look that comes to the muscle. Yeah, it gets balloon looking. It looks nice and full, and you put on all this size, but it's a I like to call it a rushed look. It's not a good quality of muscle. We want to again, another one of my saying, we want to slowly water our plant, right? We want it to grow into this beautiful plant instead of putting, if there was such thing, synthetic, and now we have this fake plastic looking lamp. It's like, yeah, it's a huge lamp, tree,
When
plant, plant, and it's huge, but it's not pretty to look at. It looks nasty. So what I have found with certain looks, when you can only push the limit so far. So the skin becomes an issue. The actual look of the muscle becomes an issue. The waistline becomes an issue. It does cause water retention in the stomach, the gut, the intestines. John Meadows told me this a very long time ago, and I believe he spoke publicly about it as well. And it's absolutely a real thing. Again, I tried it on myself, and I naturally have a very small waist. My stomach was distended. It's not normal for me to have a distended stomach. It wasn't when I was bodybuilding. So it does hurt the look. So again, we want to get the most out of the least, but it's bodybuilding. It's not ballet. So we're going to have to raise the dosages. So let's leave a little bit of that room. So we use it. It's effective without, working against us, if that
definitely.
makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to clear it out because there's so much topping going on about the GH. Some people just creating unreal scenarios. Some people just saying that it's basically the safest thing ever. You can do whatever you want, 40, 50, 60 IU if you wanted to. So I just wanted to clarify just because I know that people are gonna ask about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, no, it's not. It's not. I don't want to go on too long. Listen, does it work? It works. But let's save a little bit. I love growth hormone. I love using it with my athletes. It works. But let's keep it a little controlled because there's no such thing as a completely safe drug.
yeah. So we talk about GH, so it can be another way. We have to talk about the insulin use. Do you like to use the insulin? Do you use only the short acting one, or do you like to incorporate something like long acting, like Lantus, on maybe on the higher days, or maybe on the days that we are trying to put on muscle on my weaknesses, point of my physique, or how do you like to use it, or maybe not, don't.
I'm not the biggest fan of insulin. I'm not. Is it a tool? Yes, it's a tool. Do I use it? Oh, yeah, I use it, but not as nearly as much as people would think. And that's another thing, too. I like to get the most out of the least. What are we using it for? We're using it to really transport nutrients, right? How much does it really take to do that? Doesn't take as much as people think. Now, can you use a lot of it? Again, you can do whatever you want. Will you get a puffy look from it? Absolutely. Will it force muscle on? Absolutely. But it goes same thing as a GH. It's not a good look. It's a nasty, puffed up look that it's going to hurt you eventually on stage. So again, every I don't like to discount any drug anymore. Everything is a tool. There was one point I said no long acting insulins, they're garbage. But it could be a tool. But what I will say is I don't like people using it to control blood sugar. Let's get to the root cause of why your blood sugar is running low. Having again, I give all credit to John Meadows for this. He wasn't a big fan of Lantus at all. His theory was why have this inflammatory hormone running through your body day in, day out? True, good point. But it's a tool that we can use in lower amounts in some ways. Person's physique depending. I've seen it also destroy people's physiques in terms of their waistline and whatnot. But for the most part, we're trying to answer questions. I'm going to stick with the shorter actings. It's easier to control. It's in and out. Again, I'm using it to transport nutrients and call it a day.
Great. Okay. So I assuming that if you're gonna use the short one, it's gonna be only pre and post and or only post workout. Yes, peri workout.
I've used it peri workout. I've used it intra workout. I've used it spread out throughout the days. Again, there's a tool for the job for what we're looking to do and what the person responds to. Let's try things. Let's see how they respond to it. Maybe one's better than the other. I didn't like pre-workout insulin when I was bodybuilding. I hated it. I felt disgusting on it. It was terrible. But there are some people they get a great pump on it. They look good with it. They feel good with it. So again, where there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Okay, definitely. We have three more questions because I know that your time is getting over. So I wanted to ask you, you briefly touched the subject of the estrogen, but have to ask about it. How close to the upper range you like to keep your guys in when it comes to the estrogen? Because some people like to even go overboard a little bit, some maybe even too low, but I know you like to keep it pretty decent, but decent is what number for you?
I don't have a number. Symptoms. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's there are some
So,
guys that go,
yeah, finish.
no, 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 interrupt me, please.
Yeah,
Please.
yeah, because you said symptoms, but I know guys that have 120, for example, estrogen, and they feel okay, no symptoms when it comes to the high blood pressure or anything. But do you still think it's okay if they feel fine?
Okay, so that's where I was going. So I don't like to be, symptoms are important. You know, there are some guys that like to be slightly over the reference range. There are some guys that have to be within range. I am somebody that likes to be on the lower end of the reference range of normal. That's just my body, how I am. Now, this isn't an excuse to let it go out of control into the hundreds. No, I mean it's where no, and also too relative how much testosterone is somebody running. What is their testosterone level at? And we're going to talk about testosterone estrogen ratio, yes, but again, how does the person feel? How does they look? I have seen in many cases estrogen's high. They say they feel okay, but they look like a ball of crap. They're full of water. Maybe they're starting to accrue body fat, but they feel good though. But does this mean we should keep going like that? No. So all of a sudden, when you start to control the estrogen a little bit, either it be through primo, either it be through whatever EQ, as that has that action to some people, or an arimidex, an aromas, whatever, they still can feel good. And then now the body composition looks a little bit better. But of course, there are some guys that may not feel good. Again, it's a person to person basis. I don't like to put numbers on things because if it was as easy as numbers, and everybody would do almost the same exact
Yeah.
thing, right? Or we would have a good idea. So it's not a one size fits all thing. Let's look at how do they feel mentally, how is their libido, how is their pumps in the gym, how do they look, and of course, how's the rest of their blood markers, and then let's make an observation off of there and make a decision.
Definitely. So, do you use AI, and if so, what kind of AI do you prefer?
It again depends. Some guys I use no AIs on. Some guys I use a little bit of AIs on. There are some guys that need AIs. Again, I know I reference myself. I always needed them no matter what I did. It depends on how much are they aromatizing, how much drugs are they on. Um, so it depends, but I'm not against AIs. They're
Yeah.
there for a reason. Listen, I know they were made for cancer, such and so forth. They've been around for a long time. If somebody feels okay in them, if we're not crushing estrogen, if lipid panels aren't going out of control, what's wrong with them? But yet people will go overload on tren or take grams upon grams of primobolan and masteron. Okay, I had one guy he was running 2 grams of masteron because he didn't take an AI. His estrogen was tanked. There was not, and his lipid panel was horrific. So listen, again, it goes. I know I've said it a million times. There are tools for the job. Every tool is not for everybody, but let's find the one that works, and without having all these crazy side effects that could come with them. So I'm not against them.
Yeah, this is the answer that I accept because some expect, sorry, because some coaches are talking about using only amount of testosterone that makes you not have to use NI, and for some guys it's 200 milligrams per week. So this is just absurd, and they just fill the rest with something like DHT derivative or something like EQ that's have a potential to maybe slightly keep your estrogen in range. So this is
Yeah,
for me, it's also nothing that's solve the problem. Let's just like that.
and to add to that point, who has who has who has won their pro card on 200 milligrams of testosterone? I mean, not many.
Not many, because even not Jay, but Ronnie Coleman do not use testosterone at all. So it
Wait,
wasn't 200
yeah,
mgs.
he was not he was yeah, he didn't use any. But I'm saying, like, for competitors as a whole, listen, have people done it? Yes. Let me not put absolutes to it, but
No,
what
I
great
get you. I,
body?
I, I was just making a fun because I know
Yeah,
that there are guys who just talking shit like that because of for example, Ronnie Coleman. But there is only one Ronnie Coleman in this world, man. So this is like talking about, I don't know. I'm not gonna go to and find a job because I know that some guys are winning on the lottery. So I'm gonna play the lottery because I'm obviously gonna win. Yeah,
yes.
definitely, man. Definitely, you're gonna win the lottery. So do not looking for any job because this is a great plan for your future. Win a lottery. Yeah. So the last question, or the last two questions, if you let me, because I wanted to add one that I figured out right now. But I wanted to ask you about the managing blood pressure. Do you do something special for that? For example, do you use like telmisartans or maybe RBs or something like that that help your guys manage their heart health overall? Or do you like to use herbal stuff and stuff like that?
I would like to try to get away with not using medication. I would like to. Now, again, televasartan, those are great tools. Lisinopril could be for some people. We have beta blockers. Uh, they're tools. Now, could they? I used to be no medications. I just want to put that out there. Over the time, I have a file. I used to be no blood pressure medication. Why? Like, they're tools, and they could save somebody's life and prevent these issues from arising later on. Now, I do want to try to go without them. So let's try to. Have I seen the herbals work? Yes. I am a very, very big fan of health supplements. When Dante started, I think Dante started talking about a long time ago. I started seeing him, and I got to know Dante very well a long time ago, and I would ask him questions. He's a great mentor of mine when it comes to health supplements. And back in 2015, then I started posting about it because of Dante. I got to really see like this could really change people's lives with how they take these drugs or life after bodybuilding. And I've seen it work my entire, as long as I've been preaching about health supplements, I've seen them work on blood work and when it comes to blood pressure. So when it comes to blood pressure, let's try the herbals. How's your potassium intake? How's their magnesium intake? What's their sodium intake like? Is it too little? Is it too high? What's their water intake like? Are they doing cardio? These are all things to assess first before, let's give you telmisartan, 80 milligrams. You're not doing any cardio. You're not drinking enough water. You have like no potassium, magnesium in your diet whatsoever. It's probably not going to help. And you're taking all these drugs, or maybe it will. It's just a band-aid. So let's address these areas first, see what it's like that. Let's make the changes there. Your blood pressure comes within range. Great. We don't need any drugs. Now, there are some people that may need it, and that's okay. So there are some guys that, listen, I've tried everything possible and they're taking drugs. They may need a little telmisartan, or they're on a lower dose of lisinopril from their doctor, or whatever they were scripted from their doctor. Because I'm not a doctor. I can't script these things. Let's put that out there. Um, so it may need to be there, but that's okay. Their blood pressure staying controlled. They have no side effects from these medications. It's not going to cut their life short because they're staying healthier during cycle. So I'm not against them. In some case, like I said, some of these medications could be life saving to some guys. But just to add to this point, I love the fact you brought up blood pressure. Not to go too off point, um, it is a silent killer. I have had numerous friends who have had kidney failure and had transplants. And I'm putting this out there for any of the viewers watching. Please take your blood pressure seriously. You may not feel when it's high all the time. Some of you may be running high right now. You don't want heart failure or kidney failure because of blood pressure. You don't. And for some people, it happens. Maybe you're genetically just inclined to having high blood pressure. It can happen. We're taking drugs. We're very big. Maybe a sleep apnea. So it is something I like to take very important, very seriously, especially over these last few years. Like I said, I've known quite a bit of friends of mine who have had kidney transplants and heart issues, and there are a lot of pros out there with issues that haven't spoken about it. So it's something that I do like to take seriously. So yes, let's address the why is the blood pressure high. Let's try the natural ways first, and then we have the medications there if we need them.
Great. So let's end it up on your top sub staples year round for bodybuilders. It could be couple, it could be many. How many you like to list it?
Supplements,
Yes.
health supplements, or all supplements.
Health supplement will be the best, but we can use all if you wanted to.
Let's go health supplements. Less thoughts in my head. So health supplements. So I'm sponsored by New Ethics Formulations. I've been with them for years now. Jason Theobald's company. They're more of a in the functional medicine space, so they don't have anything like heart or kidneys yet. At least they have a liver product, but with all the bodybuilders, we're going to need something for heart, liver, and kidneys, right? So for pretty much all my guys, I have them on a base. Of course, I have them multivitamins, all that stuff. But Lycopro Complete Health by Jeff Long is an incredible product. The dosing of the ingredients is where it should be for the most part for liver, kidneys, heart, blood pressure. I believe his new formulation has a vitamin component to as well. But the dosages are great. I have seen a very big impact in people's blood work with that product. Fish oil, it's proven for years, not only for blood markers, for brain health, joints, it works, skin. Um, Now, if we need extra cholesterol support, citrus bergamot, Giawas is a great brand. Dante always preach about that. Now, the Lycopro Complete Health has a gram, I believe, of the citrus bergamot, which is a pretty good dose for most people. But if they have a need for more, we can add in more. Um, I'm trying to think offhand because that product pretty much has almost everything in it. Unless, like again, somebody has a blood pressure issue, we need to add something on top of that, or if they have a cholesterol issue or liver, and we need to add in a TUDCA. I don't put TUDCA in everybody's plans unless we're on a cycle or unless their liver shows me signs that they need to have it in there. But for the most part, all the ingredients that I'm talking about is in the Lyca Pro Complete Health. So I encourage
Great.
everybody to go out there and, check out that product because it's excellent.
If you have a code, you can say right now, and I can add it into the description as well.
Oh, thank you. It's
Yeah, definitely.
Cardone. It's Cardone 15. Yeah.
Oh, great, great. I'm gonna just write it down just to remember.
Yes.
Great. Okay, man. So I think we cover up the off season because I know that we are over your time. So sorry for that. But
Oh,
if
it's
you
okay.
if you're gonna find time like we talked before we started the record, we're gonna do the second part. And for now, I hope that everyone is happy and satisfied with today's podcast because that was a great one, definitely. And if someone wanted to know how you work and how you think when it comes to the approaching guys with a bodybuilding goals in mind, that I think that should be a starting point for them, and I hope that it's going to bring a couple of future Olympians into your hands. So thank you for today, and if someone sticks with us to the end of this podcast, please like, share, comment, and look down on the description below to find out all the information about Dom. So probably the mail, the Instagram, and everything else that I can find and provide to you. Thank you for today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to next time.
See ya.